According to the American Life League, during our show tonight, more than 135 children will die from abortion in the United States. But our caring for those children and their mothers should not end after the abortion. We'll talk about that tonight, so please stay with us. Thank you very much. I'm Father Mitch, and welcome to EWTN Live, our chance to bring you guests from all over the world. Our guests tonight have been here at EWTN all this week, taping new episodes of their series, Defending Life. And they've got a lot to talk about tonight. So please welcome the Executive Director of Priests for Life, and she's the author of a book, Recall Abortion, Janet Morana, and the Associate Director of Priests for Life, Father Dennis Wilde. Janet, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Hey, Dennis. Welcome here to EWTN again. Good to have you around, and look forward to these new episodes. Y'all have been very busy this week.
Taping, yes.
Taping lots and lots of shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what's any particular theme?
Well, I mean, there were several shows we did having to do with the Silent No More Awareness campaign, and this time we went up north to Canada, and we showed some of the testimonies that were done in front of Parliament Hill. And in particular, you know, in addition to Angelina Steentra, she's our national coordinator, and we've been up in Canada now for 10 years. We had a unique case where both Angelina Steentra and Debbie Fisher, two of our coordinators up there, were speaking at a high school, St. Teresa Lisieux. And one of the students knew of a girl, a friend of his, well, he wasn't the boyfriend, was going to have an abortion that morning. He was trying to talk her out of it, and she was going to go off and have this abortion. He texted her and said, "Don't do this. I'm listening to women who regret the abortion. You must hear them first." She texts back and says, okay. She came to the school. Those two ladies shared their testimonies to her, and she started crying and weeping. And they took her to a pregnancy center. So in the show, we have her testimony too.
Oh,
holding her little baby that was born this past year on December 9th.
God
so it was a great story. And of course, we did a few other testimonies from the Walk for Life in West Coast, and we did a show about that. And then we did some with men, showing again the damage done also to men from abortion. Yeah. So that.
Now, again, lots of stuff going on. I know, Janet, you've also done a pilgrimage to Rome. Were you on that too, Father?
No, I wasn't on this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what were you doing over there?
Well, it was for the Day of Life with the Holy Father. It was on June the 16th. And we took, Father Pavone and I took 150 pilgrims over with Stephen Janet and Teresa Tomeo. Mm-hmm. And it was marvelous. We went to all the major, you know, Father Pavone celebrated Mass in all the major cathedrals and churches, you know. And then, of course, on that Sunday, the Holy Father had a Mass in St. Peter's Square. There were 200,000 people at that Mass. It was amazing. And, you know, of course, Pope Francis, he was running around in the Pope-mobile before Mass and then came up right in time to vest and all that. But then I was selected, one of the 24 pro-life leaders, to go up and greet the Holy Father after Mass.
Oh, cool.
And it was, for me, I was shaking, you know, really, you know. And I was so surprised because I started to introduce myself, of course, and I told him about Silent No More and Rachel's Vineyard, and he grabbed my hand and started, like, of course it was all in Italian, but I could get a few words here and there. And he told me he knew of Silent No More and Rachel's Vineyard because he said we have it in Argentina, which I was aware of. And he said, oh, it's good work, and blessed it. And then actually just last week, Father Pavone was at a conference, you know, in Rome, and he got an audience with his group, with Pope Francis. He went to Pope Francis, and again, he told him who he was in Rachel's Vineyard and Silent No More. And the Holy Father told him, go forward with that work. It's very important, go forward. So for all those who work with Priests for Life on Silent No More and Rachel's Vineyard to know that Pope Francis really affirmed our work of dealing and helping with the aftermath of abortion and helping people to heal. So for me, that was so joyful, you know?
Cool. Well, that's a very good thing.
Yeah.
And also during this trip, you got to meet St. Gianna Beretta's family.
Yes.
Mola's family.
Yeah.
How'd you do that? Because they don't live in Rome.
No, they're actually north of Milan, outside of Milan. So Father Pavone, Teresa Tomeo, and I took a train up to Milan, and we were met there by a gentleman named Silvio. He does the pro-life movement in Milan, and he invited us to visit. So first we traveled up to Bergamo, where we went to visit Mother Virginia and Father Giuseppe. Those are actually the brother and sister of St. Gianna Beretta Mola. We spent over an hour with them. And I remember asking them about what was the final words that St. Gianna said, you know, because they were both at her bedside along with her husband.
By brother, the one is a religious nun.
Yes, the one is a religious nun, and the other is a priest.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And I asked them, you know, because they were with her that morning she died. She actually was in the hospital, but she knew she was going to die. And they asked, you know, she said, I want to go home and be at home. So her husband, Pietro, took her home. And the children were all sleeping. And they said she was in terrific pain, horrible, horrible pain from, you know, the infection. And they, you know, I said to them, what were her final words? And she was half unconscious, opened her eyes, and she said, I'm going to be with Jesus now. And she closed her eyes and breathed her last. And they talked about, I said to them, I said, so many brothers and sisters in one family, you know, and actually the other brother who's a priest, you know, his case is being brought forward now to be named a blessed. They're just finishing up his cause. I said, how did, you know, so many religious and a saint in one family? And they said, oh, our parents were, you know, we raised a lot of children, but they were very firm. The prayer life of our family was very important all the time. So prayer was like very, very important to the family as they were growing up. And of course, then we went down to Magenta, where we were with Gianna Manuela, the daughter who she gave her life for, who she survived. Right. And that was a privilege. I got to pray at her tomb of St. Gianna Beretta Mola with her daughter and Father Pavone there. And I mean, I just pinched myself, Father Mitch, to say, like, how do I get the opportunity to do these things? But it was, I'll never forget it. I will never forget the experience, you know?
Now, Father Dennis, what have you been up to?
Well, a lot of different things. We go around to parishes all over the country. We're going to schools, of course, down here doing the taping. I was in Atlanta last week at a parish and did a piano concert, and that's one of the things that I do. I'm a concert pianist, and I have my degree in that. And yeah, well, I spent 22 years at Villanova University. I'm an Augustinian priest, and so I spent 22 years there teaching music and doing a choral society there. And we sang all over the world, really, and it was a wonderful experience for those years. But God was pulling me to do something more than just resolve dominant seventh chords. And so I joined Priests for Life in 1998, and it's been a wonderful experience working with Father Frank Pavone and Janet and all the others there with a great variety that we have. And it keeps me young because I'm getting to be the granddaddy up there. Father Quinn used to say that. But,
Father Quinn used to say that, right.
But he's also an Augustinian, but he's kind of retired, but he keeps touch with us and through social media and the rest. But no, I've been doing a number of parishes around the country. Since I came in, I've done over 750 venues in 46 out of the 50 states, and a lot of returns, of course. But the piano part is an interesting thing, and I haven't lost it. It's always intertwined with my priesthood. I think God gives me that energy to express myself in different ways, and that's one of the ways. And we usually do that as part of the, we open that up to people in a parish. If they want that, we'll give a concert. And usually the funds will go for, and it's free will offering, but it'll go for Crisis Pregnancy Center in the area so that we connect with them, that kind of thing. But it's been a wonderful opportunity.
If you ever get a chance to get out to Orange, California.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, Bishop Kevin Van is also a great pianist.
I heard that, yeah.
So maybe you all can do a duet.
Well, we tried that, too.
And he's also a wonderful bishop.
I haven't been able to do that with Benedict.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Well, actually, Father Dennis has a CD that we have available at Priests for Life called The Concert for Life, and he's also done one called Keys to Christmas. So if people want to
We
listen.
can get that on
they
our
can contact Priests for Life
website,
at our
sure.
website, and they can listen to
Just
Father's music.
priestforlife.org/FRWILDE. That's my little homepage in it, which allows that, yeah. That's great.
And in addition, you, Janet, have been busy also getting a book published.
Yes.
Recall Abortion.
This is it here.
Yeah.
I'm very
tell us about
excited. Yeah, it's my first book called Recall Abortion. It's by St. Benedict's Press, and of course it's available at the Religious Catalog. The title of the book has a double meaning, Father Mitch. It's the women who've had abortions always recall it. Even if they've gone through healing, they know the date of their abortion, they know the date their child would have been born, they recall it. It's part of their history. But in the book, I make a case why we should demand a government recall of the procedure abortion. Because, you know, you think about it, if any product did to women what abortion does, both the physical and psychological damage, women still die from it, it would be off the shelves, you know? And people might say to me, oh, well, come on, Janet, do they recall medical procedures? But they do all the time. I mean, in the last century, lobotomies were done very often. And then psychiatric medicine advanced, and they said, you know what, this is a cruel procedure. It's not really good. There's other ways we can handle these mental illnesses. And so what do? They stopped doing lobotomies. So I feel it could be with abortion. I have a website, recallabortion.com, where I ask people to sign a petition to demand the recall. And I've been told by some of our pro-life members in Congress that if I can get enough traction on this, perhaps they can have some hearings about the physical damage and get medical experts in, and maybe in the future that could be an angle. So,
well, you know, one of the battle cries of the pro-abortion crowd was, we've got to get abortions out of the back alley,
right,
where it's dirty and dangerous, and give it clean. But I've been hearing story after story, besides Kermit Gosnell.
Oh, Gosnell was just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, in my book, I have testimonies from the women, you know, who tell you about the filthy conditions in these abortion clinics. And, you know, the only difference between the back alley and this, and now that it's legal, is the doctor took his name off the back door and put it on the front. I mean, these doctors are the low level of the medical profession. Many of them have lost their license in other states. Many of them have brought up on sexual abuse charges, you know, sexually abusing the women during the procedure. And when you think about, this is not medicine. Compare abortion to like a simple surgical procedure when you go in and out of the hospital the same day, right? Yeah. You do that, you've gone to the doctor weeks before, he's examined you, told you need an operation, you go to the hospital a few days before.
You got to sign a piece of paper saying, why are you here?
Exactly.
But, you know, and
you
make
get
sure
blood
that
tests
it's clear.
ahead, x-rays, and all that, right? The testimonies of women in this book tell you what happened the first time they met the doctor, when they were on the table ready for the procedure to start. And they never saw him again, of course, unless they came back for a repeat abortion. How is this good medicine? How is this good for women?
Well, the other thing, too, that, you know, I found just, you know, so infuriating is that Kermit Gosnell had one clinic for African-American women,
right,
one for whites.
Right, within his same clinic.
Right.
He had two different rooms.
Right.
Yeah.
And he himself being African American.
Right.
But he said white women would never put up with
the conditions in the other one.
In the ones for the black ones. I said, this is outrageous.
Absolutely. And you know, both Father Pavone, Father Dennis, myself, Dr. Elvita King, and Brian Kempis, members of our team, we were in that courtroom during the trial. Right. And they had on display, like, see where this coffee table is? They had the procedure table.
All antiquated machinery.
All antiquated. And you could see rust, dried blood on this and the instruments. This is all things that they gathered on that when they raided his clinic. And keep in mind, they weren't going in that clinic looking for anything to do with abortion.
Looking for drugs.
They were looking for drugs, of drug violations. And when they found those at House of Horrors, babies, you know, in the freezer, in containers, feet of babies in jars on the shelf of his office, it was appalling. They couldn't believe it. But you were in that courtroom. Think about this. For 2 months, the jury had to look at that disgusting equipment. And like you said, it was the equipment from the room that the African-American women were using, he used to do their abortions.
You know, it's something, the whole concept of the abortion is, you know, horrendous.
That's right.
But to add this quality of racist treatment.
That's right.
You know,
worse.
And I think where Margaret Sanger was, and from the very beginning, I mean, she talked about
just so folks understand, she was the founder of Planned Parenthood.
Right.
Right.
who understand that something like 60% of their clinics are in African American neighborhoods.
That's right.
Even though African Americans are only 12% of the population.
Yeah, they're targeted. They're targeted.
It seems that
I mean,
way.
like in downtown LA, we know Astrid Bennett, actually, who is on our Catholic View for Women show. She operates a pregnancy center in downtown LA. She's surrounded by 9 Planned Parenthoods within a 2-mile radius, 9 abortion clinics. And of course, she's dealing with all African American and Hispanic population there, assisting poor people. And there they are targeting 9 abortion clinics surrounding her.
And they're also, of course, at the universities, too.
Oh, yeah.
So they can
They're on
target
campuses,
the young people.
the students.
Now, this is something that we've been certainly dealing with. Now, when a woman has an abortion, we remain concerned. I mean, oftentimes Christians are portrayed as being mean to them and things like that. And this is not the goal. Even when a woman has an abortion, whether it was decades ago or 5 minutes ago,
Right.
we want to be there
Absolutely.
to do various things. And one of the things that we've just, as one small point, this Saturday, we have a day of memorial. Tell us about that. Saturday, the 14th of
Yeah,
September.
I'm going to be actually presiding at one of those at Hansfield, not too far away, of course,
Right.
at the shrine.
And I'll be going to one down in Montgomery.
Right.
So they're all over the country, and basically it's the idea of giving dignity, the dignity that that baby already has, should be given the last burial rites. And some of them are buried, of course, already, and we want to give them the recognition that these are human beings, because abortion has become a statistic. And in order to bring out that dignity of that human being that is there already in the womb, we have these days memorial of sanctity.
And I know among the people who invited me are women who had abortions.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That
Yes.
they are also going there as a sign of mourning
because-
and for healing.
Yeah, one of the beautiful
themselves.
things about this is that the invitations that we get around the country to go to many parishes are from people who have been there, done that, and they've come out of that through the mercy of God. That's what we're really preaching. That's what we're really about, is to see the healing process that takes place. Not where we've been that matters, it's where we're going to that matters.
Well,
Yeah.
if people want to see if there's going to be a service, in their area, because these areas where these aborted children are buried, first of all, people have to understand the stories of how the babies were obtained are on the website, abortionmemorials.com. They can
so
go
let me,
there.
Let me repeat that. Abortion Memorials, as one word, abortionmemorials.com
Right.
is where they can go to find out.
And they can look state by state to see if there are children at the memorial buried in their state. They'll see also if there's going to be a service this Saturday there. And even if you can't get there this Saturday, I would encourage you to go there at some time. Look all over the country, see where they are. And maybe some people, they travel around the country, they go here, they go there. Some of them have thousands of aborted babies that were retrieved from dumpsters and other circumstances. And like I said, each story is there. As a matter of fact, Cardinal George is going to preside over one of these ceremonies on Saturday up in Chicago. So I really encourage people, and for women who've had an abortion, and I can speak from the Women for the Campaign, many of them, their babies were thrown away as medical waste. They have no idea where their child is. But to go to these places, they don't know where their child is, but some children are there, and that can be a very healing thing for them to say prayers at this location. I mean, some of the women go, even I know here, right here by the network, there's just a tombstone over here by the guardian angel, and many of the women leave notes there. I know the staff has told me they find notes that women write, to their aborted child. So just going to these sites is very, very healing for the women. And even if you can't get to one of these sites this Saturday, I'm asking everybody to pray for women who've had abortions, pray for them to find healing, and pray for any woman that's considering having an abortion this Saturday, that maybe her heart would be changed, her mind would be changed.
Right. Yeah, we want to do what we can to prevent the abortions.
That's right.
But also to help
Heal.
after the abortion is done, and also to help after the baby is born.
That's
If
right.
they do change their mind, this is one of the things, again, you hear the criticism, oh, you just wanted to have the baby, then you leave them.
Right.
That's not true.
No, it's not
Most
true.
of the efforts in the pro-life movement are to help those mothers,
Right.
already who are pregnant, and to pull them through this situation.
And when you think about it, Father Mitch, there's about only 625 freestanding abortion clinics left in this country, and yet there's close to 3,000 pregnancy centers offering the real help, the real choice for women to help them bring that baby to life.
And that's down
and give them whatever they
70%,
need.
70% from what we had.
Of the abortion clinics.
Of the abortion clinics.
Yeah, have
and the others
closed.
have risen.
So
as the
70% of abortion
freestanding
clinics
abortion
have
clinics
closed.
have
Since
closed.
1998.
1998.
92. Since
Since
92, 70%
For the last
have
21
closed.
years.
Right.
70% are closed.
Yeah.
And is the reason primarily, I don't know if you have these statistics, but is it primarily because they are, these unclean, unsafe places?
Absolutely.
Is that the main reason?
Well, there's a variety of reasons. First of all, some of the clinics are having difficulty finding doctors to do abortions. I mean,
Yes.
think about it. Do you grow up and say, I want to be a doctor and do an abortion? No. These are the low-hanging fruit of the medical profession. And so very often you have what they call circuit rider abortionists. They go from this place to this place to this place because they can't find enough doctors. So some abortion mills close for that reason. But as we did in one of our Defending Life shows, we have a gentleman, we interviewed Troy Newman of Operation Rescue, and his group now for over 2 decades has been working tirelessly to find out the information, because a lot of these abortion clinics are doing illegal activity. The dirty conditions, like you're saying, they would never pass a health board standards if someone went in there. But very often too, there's fraud. They don't report, they take a lot of cash, they don't report it. I mean, it goes on, Father Mitch. And actually, if you want to know about the abortion docs in your area, there's a website, abortiondocs.com, where you can go and you can see in your state the doctors that are there and what we found out so far. Maybe it's not enough to shut them down or get them in jail just yet, but more and more stories come out. And a lot of the information comes from the people who do sidewalk counseling and pray outside of these abortion mills. Because let's say you see an ambulance being called to that clinic.
Exactly.
Oh, you got your cell phone? Hit video. Take that, and then you let us know at Priests for Life. We'll get it to the right people who can begin sounding the alarm, telling the authorities, and try to get people to investigate why was that ambulance called to that clinic.
That's one of the things that a lot of folks who do the sidewalk counseling and praying and things, they think, well, others say, well, what good does it do?
A lot of good. We don't reap it right away, but it happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
I also want to make sure that we don't have too much time, but there's a Centurions retreat coming up. Tell us about the Centurions
These
retreat.
are people who have done abortions, doctors and others around the country, and they've come out of it. And some are anonymous and some are known. And so we have those retreats, and Father Pavone does those retreats to guide these people along, to bring them through. The idea of centurion, of course, comes from the notion of the centurion at the cross.
Right.
And at the time where, of course, he recognized, regardless of his past, that this was a just man, this was the Son of God in the other translation. So to recognize that and the feeling of guilt that one has, and of course we know in tradition that this man converted, but regardless, these are people who did convert in the in our present day and age.
Yeah, so this weekend there is going to be a retreat that Father Pavone is conducting, and I would ask our viewers if you could please pray for these clinic workers. They're not all doctors. Some are clinic workers that have come out of the abortion industry. Some are doctors. They're going to be on this retreat this weekend to kind of deal with the guilt and the feelings, and they have to unpack. I mean, some of them have been responsible for destroying the lives of thousands of children, and so there's a lot to deal with. And actually, this program was developed by Dr. Philip Ney. He's a Canadian psychiatrist who actually developed this whole model retreat program. And Father Pavone has been trained, and actually I have been trained also by Dr. Ney.
I was back in February 2002. Yeah, he's a great psychiatrist and knows this very much inside. Bernard Nathanson, of course, was probably the biggest of all the abortionists, and there's he died only recently, but the story of his life, and he said if we were just united, prepared, and ready, we would not have had this tragedy. He was referring to actually the clergy.
Right.
But his story is wonderful.
I know it. No, it's just very admirable. I got to meet him only once, but it was marvelous. Also, we have the 2014 March for Life coming up That's going to be in January.
January 22nd.
And it's
It's
going
a
to be
Wednesday.
a national prayer service.
That's right. It's the National Pro-Life Religious Council that, Father Pavone is president of that group. This will be a interdenominational prayer service. And actually, before this prayer service starts, it's going to be in Constitution Hall. We had it last year for the first time in Constitution Hall. Actually, the prayer service, they've been doing it for over a decade. But last year, we had it in Constitution Hall. We're going to be back there again. At 7:30, there'll be a Mass for those who need, the Catholics want to have Mass. And then at 8:30, the interdenominational prayer service will begin. And it will go till 10:30. So you'll finish in plenty of time to get from Constitution Hall over to the rally. We want to announce this now because very often now groups are planning their buses and their schedules. We would like to, invite you to make this as part of your plans for the March for Life, to come to this interdenominational prayer service. And I know Father Dennis helped organize some
We'll be doing the music, yes. We want people who are there, if they know that they're going to be there, get in contact with me because we put together a great
chance
choir.
for you and Bishop Van.
Well, he might be there too. We'll see what happens there. But that's a wonderful thing just from the pastoral side. I mean, you have clergy people there of all walks, and it's a beautifully constructed, put together 2 hours of beautiful service, bringing people's hearts together under this one umbrella of saving lives,
Yeah, and again, it's www.nationalprayerservice.com to find out more information about that. And, to consider something. This past Saturday, EWTN broadcast the prayer vigil for peace from Rome. It was about 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then we replayed it later on. I was watching near a chapel, in fact, so I could be near the Blessed Sacrament and also see this. And, join in the prayers. And then, we see, and I know Pope Francis did get in contact with President Putin, and these things seem to be moving along. We'll see how they go. But to see that prayer may have averted, a very serious issue, and of getting into perhaps another war or something. So, we should look at, these movements toward resolving the use of chemical weapons as being a response to that prayer.
Right.
And then for this kind of prayer, this Saturday, and in January, and at the Centurion, all these others, we should keep in mind how powerful that prayer is.
Yes. Absolutely.
Because, I know it's very serious. They've been showing these videos of children and their parents dying from that chemical attack in Syria in a horrible way.
Right.
But we have to remember that every single day
we lose
RU-486
is killing
chemicals being used to kill children in the womb.
Absolutely.
And there are other chemicals. There are saline solutions and all the other types of abortion that are attacking children in the womb. And perhaps to see that as our prayer helped to work toward peace, and hopefully we'll work toward a greater resolution of all the violence in Syria.
Right.
We also want to end the violence in the wombs of mothers.
Yeah.
And to see that, and this is very important. We have to take a break.
Okay.
We're going to come back. We want to get your questions and your comments. So please stay with us. Thank you and welcome back. Now, first of all, I want to invite you to come here and be part of our audience. If you can do that, please contact our pilgrimage department at 205-271-2966, or you can also go to EWTN.com, and they'll give you all kind of information about that. And, we've been talking about an ongoing tragedy, but today is September 11th, and it's been 12 years since the horrible attacks on New York City and on the Pentagon in Washington and the plane that crashed in Pennsylvania. And this is a very sad memory for all of us. Certainly during the day, we've been praying for those who died, for their families, for the tragic effects that this has had on an ongoing basis. Some families have broken up because it just was such a shock. And other families, of course, are still grieving horribly the loss of mothers and fathers. And even that there were, 9 mothers who were carrying children.
Children, yes.
And that the memorial, they include mention
Yes, they do.
of not only the mothers,
But her
but
unborn
the
child.
9 unborn children.
Right.
So, it's nice that they recognized these were not just blobs of tissue.
No, they're
but they were
acknowledged. Father
unborn
Mitch, in
children.
the memorial, they have the bronze plaques of all the names. I'm from New York. I've been to the memorial, and Father Frank and I we walked around and prayed all around both the North and South Tower. That's how it is. And as we went around, we began to notice the names of the women, and it said, "and her unborn child," 9 of them at different locations around. Their names are.
And this is something, again, we all need to remember and pray for a type of peace to enter into the hearts of people who, are still promoting this. Tragically, I was looking at the internet at some of the Syrian rebels, and one of the signs said, "We will destroy their hiding places. Naduku kilhum," and behind it was our Congress building. So we want to pray that such folks have a real change of heart, and that from God they learn what it means to love Him first and to love their neighbors as themselves. We want to go to some callers and some questions. Let's start off with Lucy. Lucy, where are you from?
Father, you might remember me. 2005, I was there in September, and you kissed my newborn son. And Janet, this Lucy from Connecticut, Silent No More.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Lucy. What's your question?
Quick question. Thank you also, and God bless you, and keep us in your prayers in Connecticut. First of all, I have a mother who's already had an abortion and in the crisis of another abortion due to the type of pregnancy, but circumstances, but also finding out recently this week that the unborn child will be Down syndrome 90% with the maternal 21. And the other question was, women that are single moms, especially post-abortive, have mental issues, and how do we protect them from the authorities like protective services? Because a lot of them do fall into traps of losing their children to the state after they already had their children, if they are not resolved for their abortion issue.
All right. So you've got a number of these situations where some women go ahead and have the children, but then they get into various kind of difficulties with child protective services and all that. And plus, she's also asking about, what are some of the psychological effects? I know we could probably do a whole show on each one of those questions.
Questions,
but if you could just be Sort of brief a little bit on either one of those.
Well, I mean, first of all, you're saying the psychological effects of abortion.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, first of all, they range from, depression. Some women, they end up with even eating disorders and things, which is based on a psychological thing, and then leads to that. Many of them have suicidal thoughts. Unfortunately, some of them actually commit suicide. It's very tragic.
Spouses.
Yeah. Then they have, like Father's saying, they have a difficulty bonding with children they have later because of the guilt and unresolved abortion. And then also in marital relations or relationships, with their, if they eventually go on and get married, they have difficulty in trusting men and also in entering into a relationship. So there's a lot of psychological things that unhealed. Of course, the Rachel's Vineyard, which is a ministry of Priests for Life, is one of the largest healing ministries in the world for after abortion care. So anyone who knows someone who needs help, who needs this kind of assistance, I highly recommend go to the website rachelsvineyard.org and see where the nearest retreat is. And
it isn't just about women too. Obviously, the mothers have suffered from this, but the fathers, and they are fathers and mothers. We have to remember that, not just women and men.
And sometimes some of the men have
anger, suppression.
They push the woman.
Oh yes,
and other times they had nothing to say.
Exactly, two extremes. Legally, they have nothing to say in the matter, nothing, and that's frustrating. It creates a lot of anger. And the other way, of course, are the ones who push them into it. So it depends on which side they're on.
Sure. Well, we have to take a question from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
Fayetteville, Georgia.
Good to have you here. And what's your question?
How do we get Father Wilde to come talk to us, one? And two, Janet, how did we get the teams like you were talking about to go to the high schools to talk to the kids? You said St. Therese. They went to the high school and talked to the kids. And was it a man and a woman team?
No, it was two of the women from the Silent No More Awareness campaign. Many of the women from the campaign that are like our regional coordinators or qualified to speak, they go and speak in schools when invited. So you would contact, if you want to have a member of the Silent No More Awareness campaign come to a school, come to, first of all, I can come and speak, but we have a whole, all over the country.
To answer your question, though,
women.
the first thing is just call Priests for Life. Let them, Priests for Life, and our website is www.priestsforlife.org, and connect with us, and we'll be able to do it. We set this up all the time. We have a team of people who work with our scheduling, and it can be done very easily. We look forward to that. And to answer that question too, we also go to schools. So I'll be speaking at schools this coming week in Chicago, and other places around the country. So that's true.
And as part of our team, too, we have Dr. Alveda King. We have Brian Kemper, who heads up our youth outreach. So just among our pastoral team, Father Victor Solomon does a Hispanic outreach. So for those who have Spanish-speaking parishes and schools, we have Father Victor to go in and habla español muy bueno. So, we really have...
Muy bien.
Muy bien.
You
okay.
don't.
See,
he
I
does.
don't. I don't. He does. Exactly, which is why
transformación.
Exactly. But the point is, just like Father said, contact Priests for Life. We have a speakers bureau, and we will get a speaker to you. And if they want someone from the Silent No More Awareness campaign, we can get them that too. So.
Pero Padre es muy bueno.
Sí, claro que sí. All right, we have Marie on. Hello, Marie. Marie, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Where are you from?
It's an honor to speak to you.
Oh, thank you.
I am from Stony Point, New York, in Rockland County.
Oh, great.
And what I wanted to know, my son was recently ordained a priest for the Archdiocese of New York. And he gave me a sign, and I have it on my car, and it says you can't be Catholic and pro-choice. And I've been getting a lot of talk about that. Now, I have a very hard time, and I get a lot of encouragement from you listening to you. But I have a hard time defending what I feel in my heart because we're very pro-life, okay? And what happens is most of the people in my area that are Catholic are very active in 3 of the churches that I go to. They call themselves Catholic, and they're very active in the church, and yet they're pro-choice. They're politicians. They get recognized. They get awards. They get and how do you defend that? How do you say what you're doing is wrong when they're being honored. It's so frustrating, Father. It drives me crazy.
Well, first of all, Marie, I don't defend it. And you don't need to. If it makes you crazy to defend the indefensible, don't defend it and call it out for what it is. I'm sure that they do nice things that are good in other areas, but they got to be pro-life.
I think the one thing that word itself, pro-choice, I think we should get that out of our vocabulary, not use it, and always call it pro-abortion. Call it what it is.
Right.
I mean, what's wrong in calling it what it is?
That's the choice they want.
Yeah.
Well, and also, too,
But still,
I think you have to
a choice
challenge them
kill.
and say, have you ever seen an abortion, what it is? And on our preschool website, as you know, we have the largest collection of pictures of abortion, of aborted babies, but we also have procedure documents. They're from a medical textbook of first and second trimester abortion. And what you have to say to people who say they're pro-choice, show them a diagram like that. We'll send them to you free of charge. Contact Preschool Life and say, when you say choice, is this what you mean? Because choice has lost all meaning. So unless you challenge them to say, what are we talking about? We're not talking about if you want to choose Cheerios or Rice Krispies. We're talking about the life of an unborn child, and this is what happens in abortion. Very often, it's all, you know what I'm saying, Father? It's lost its meaning. Exactly. So we have to challenge
Abortion
them
has
to
lost
face
its
what.
meaning.
Right.
But that word choice is the essence of the problem, because people know that it's human. I mean, if they really look at it, they have to see that it's human. But they can choose not to agree with it and act another way.
Right.
And so this idea that I can do whatever I feel like doing and I can't tell anybody else what to do, it doesn't fly in the face of what we have to do in society in every other area.
When somebody wants to break in your house and steal all your stuff, you want to say, well, that's your choice.
Right.
No.
Or
I
Abraham
don't think
Lincoln
so.
saying, I don't care. He says about the slaves. If the slaves, if the Southern plantation owners want to have slaves, they may have those slaves.
Right.
He doesn't say that, obviously.
No. And even Vice President Biden would say, if they want to break into your house, shoot off a shotgun or two. Because he doesn't agree with that choice either.
Right.
But also, too, Father, a lot of people who are pro-choice say that they are so because they're concerned for the woman. And that's where I say, listen to the voices of the women who've had abortion. They bought the lie. The women from the Silent No More, the women, I have testimonies in my book. Listen to what these abortions has done to these women and just say, how can you be for this procedure for these women? Look what it does to them. Look at the physical damage. I can introduce you to women who were told by Planned Parenthood, oh, have the abortion today, go back to school and work tomorrow, everything will be fine. You can always have a baby later on. Well, the only child they were ever able to conceive because of the damage done by that abortion was that child they aborted. So sometimes you have to turn this around, because a lot of these people who are pro-choice, they're concerned about the women and say, we're concerned about the women too. We don't want to see them die like in abortion clinics, which they still do. Start naming them. Jennifer Mabelli. What about Laura Smith? We can go on and on. There's a list of on and on of the women that are still dying in these abortion clinics. So abortion is not helping women. It's really damaging them.
And, when you mention, well, we'll send you photographs, one of the things they like to say is, we don't want to see that. That's just gross. But at the same time, our staunchly pro-abortion president used
the pictures of the children in Syria.
Children in Syria in order to convince people this is a problem.
Exactly.
And he understands. Of course, when you help people see what is going on, that changes minds.
Exactly.
Well, that's true on positions he may not like, but seeing the pictures, I'll never forget seeing the silent scream.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Changes you. And especially the diagrams I'm speaking about, Father Mitch, because they're not diagrams that a pro-life group like Priests for Life or another group created. These are from medical textbooks.
Medical
They're
evidence.
medical diagrams of just showing this is how the procedure is. Here's picture 1, picture 2, picture 3, picture 4, picture 5.
And we see in history that this has always been done. I mean, we look at the Second World War. After that, when Eisenhower went to the concentration camps in Germany and insisted that the people of Germany get out to Dachau and see what happened. They had to see those things, and that was the reason. And all throughout history.
You have to face the evil.
We have another question from our studio audience. Ma'am, where are you from?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
And what's your question?
Thank you. I have a coworker who told me that She is against abortion, except in cases of rape. What would you advise I tell her besides it's not the baby's fault?
Well, because the first thing is that the person who has really experienced that, if she has an abortion, many of the people say that is like a reminder of the rape, because this is not a logical thing, it's a sensate thing, that this is what we hear, that in that procedure of the abortion, she's reminded, not dismissing, but she's reminded of the rape. So,
well, and also too, well, first, I cover this a full chapter in my book, Recall Abortion, about rape and incest, and I have testimonies of women, and there's actually studies been done of women who had an abortion after they were raped, and those who did not have the abortion, but instead gave birth to the child. Some of them raised the child, some of them placed the child for adoption. Right. Well, the women who were raped and had the abortion said they got over the rape, but they could not get over the fact that they were responsible for the death of that child. Now, the women who gave birth to the child, unlike what everyone says, no, the child did not remind them of the rapist. The child brought joy to them. One of the girls that I talk about here,
because it's a baby.
It's a baby. Yeah. Liz Carl, she was date raped in college, all right, and she was considering an abortion, but her friend, her dorm, and this is where friends, can help not kids get abortions. Her friend said, "Oh, you're pro-life. How can you do this? You can't have this abortion." She goes, "I can't tell my parents." She goes, "I'll go and help you." She went and told her parents. They said, of course. She gave birth to the child, a little boy. Didn't remind her of the rapist, she said. And she placed the child for adoption, and the child's being raised, and it's an open adoption. She sees the child periodically. Yeah. It's a beautiful story, if we just do what's right, life affirming, answer, it's what's best.
The other thing that I think is very important is to remind people that if you catch the rapist, you would not get a chainsaw and cut off his arms, cut off his legs, right, and then crush his skull.
Right. But that's what
that would be unconstitutional, right, because it's cruel and unusual punishment. Right. So you would not do that to the perpetrator. Why would you do it to the baby who is as much a victim, right, as the mother? Exactly. The baby didn't do anything wrong.
Nothing
so
wrong.
Don't do to the baby what you would not do to the perpetrator of the crime. Absolutely. He's the criminal.
Right.
Put him in jail.
But remember.
But don't, cut him apart, and don't cut the baby.
But remember what I said, Father, is that the people who are saying, well, I'm against abortion, but except for rape and incest, it's because they're worried about the woman.
Right.
And what I'm showing, what I just said, is that it's the abortion that damages her further. It's giving birth to the child that helps heal her from the rape. Right. So it's the opposite of what they're telling you out there.
Pseudo-logical.
And also to the number of children that are conceived through rape, it's like 1%.
About 500 a year.
To all the abortions.
Yeah. Which is 500 too many, but still.
But
right,
still.
because the rape is horrendous. But
when we think
right.
1,300,000 a year of abortions and 500 because of rape.
Right. We have Denise on the line. Hello, Denise.
Hi, Father Mitch.
Where are you from?
Dallas.
Great. Good to have you. And what's your question?
Well, it's more a puzzle, I guess. My grandson died 2 weeks in my daughter's room before he was due. And in the state of Texas, we were required to get a death certificate and to bury him. And it just puzzles me. I don't understand the double standard. How a baby that's wanted is given that that honor, and a baby that's not wanted is thrown in the trash can.
Thank you, Denise. Want to respond to that?
Well, that shows just how lopsided, our laws are in this country right now. But I'm just, happy for that woman that they were able to have a burial. Very often what happens right now is the medical profession, advises abortion, for couples when they see there's a problem with the baby.
Right.
I deal with this in my book about fetal anomalies, and in her case, maybe there was something wrong that the baby died in utero. But very often the medical profession offers abortion to couples that would never consider it, because they want this child. Right. And yet, because of fear of wrongful birth suits, they offer abortion. But there's a better answer. It's a program called perinatal hospice, and it's a program founded by Dr. Byron Calhoun, and it's spreading really over the United States more and more. So if people know if some people are in these circumstances, they should, don't let the medical profession talk you into abortion. Contact us. We'll get you in touch with a perinatal hospice program in your area, because there's a good solution. Yeah. And also too, Father Mitch, when you think of trisomy 18, right? That's the case where they'll say, okay, those babies are going to die, and better to terminate. How do you know what's going to happen? Look at Senator Rick Santorum's Bella. I mean, she's over 4 years old now with trisomy 18. Nobody has the right to take life like that.
And he loves her so much.
And he loves her so much. And they talk about the joy that baby's brought to their family. Down syndrome is another thing. Search and destroy mission. Over 90% of Down's babies are aborted. And yet, talk to any family that has a child with Down syndrome. It brings the family together. It brings joy to that family. So if anyone is struggling with these diagnoses, they should really contact us. We'll put them in touch with good doctors who can help them deal with whatever that diagnosis is,
We have another question from our studio audience. Where are you from?
Yes, I'm from Ecuador, South America, and I would like to ask Jane or Father, how, if we have statistics of how the post-abortion syndrome affects into divorcing, and if it is a factor of culture or a factor of spiritual.
Okay. Well, I mean,
thank you.
There's not specific, statistics like that. But what is if a couple goes into marriage and either one of them has had a past abortion that's been unhealed, not dealt with, it will affect their marriage. Sure. Okay. First of all, in their own relationship with each other, and then later on when they have children. And this happens for the man and the woman. As a matter of fact, we covered at our New Defining Life series a whole show about men and how it has affected them later on into marriage when they did not get the healing, talk about this prior abortion. So it can eventually, if it's not dealt with, it can be a cause for divorce, especially like for the men. What do men do after abortion? Many of them drink. They become gamblers. Gambling, addictive pornography,
and they divorce from society.
Yes, they withdraw. So it's addictive behaviors, and it could destroy their marriage if it's an unhealed abortion. And the same thing for the women too.
Sure. So one more question from our studio audience. Sir, where are you from?
I'm from Washington State, Father.
Good to have you here. And your question?
My question is that health care, abortion is not a disease. I mean, pregnancy is not a disease.
Right.
And many times we've told a lie to people that Planned Parenthood is good for the poor communities, and it's not. So my question is, what can we do as Christian people to bring to light that Planned Parenthood is really planned murder?
We have about a minute, so what would you...
Well, just real quickly, the slogan that Brian Kemper from our youth outreach says, "Let God plan parenthood," is a good one.
Right.
But I think what you have to do is point to what happens in those Planned Parenthood clinics. Talk about the fact that women are being hurt physically in those clinics. The babies are dying.
And minority women.
Minority women are being targeted. Tell them to look to see where all these clinics are and look at the minority neighborhood, and you can see it as a targeting.
And they're being exposed already. I'm thinking, of Mark Crutcher's work.
Right. Yes.
So that let folks know this is not good for your community.
Right.
Your minority community.
That's right.
And that we want to do what we don't want you to disappear, or that the solution to poverty is not killing babies.
That's right.
But the solution to poverty is more education, marrying, and working together as husband and wife toward a future
That's right.
of stability. That's the key, to ending most of the poverty. But we've also got the key to ending the show, which is run out of time.
Okay.
I want to thank you very much for both
Father.
of you being here.
Thank you.
And for doing this new series. And Father Dennis, would you join me in giving a blessing? Sure. May Almighty God bless you. May He bring eternal rest to all the souls of those who died on 9/11 of 2001, those who were killed in the terror attack in Benghazi, all those killed in Syria and elsewhere. May God give you His peace, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And we can do not only this program, but the series Defending Life and all the other shows, because these shows are brought to you by you. So please keep us in between your gas bill, electric bill, and cable bill, and we'll pay our bills. Thank you.